Hello and welcome back to my garden. Since nobody said, yes, let's do some quizzes, which was my idea for a rainy day today, the only other bad idea I had was to do a little walk around the garden. Just take a look at some of the things that are happening or have happened since maybe you last saw them. So we're going to start here on the back deck. I think in shot you can see my Mexican scar plant is doing okay. It's alive. I've got some sedums. I have a few other plants around here that are in various stages of being okay. There's a few things back here I want to point out to you. First, these pots right here. So you guys may have seen my video where I planted out some of my fall crops, as it were, some lettuces, spinach. What's the other one I planted out? Calendula. And as the temperature gets cooler over the next coming weeks, I'm going to plant out more carrots because I planted out carrots, and I'll be planting out radish. But back here, I thought I'd try a little experiment and try some crops in pots. So in this pot over here, I have Scarlet Nantes carrots. They're just starting to come up, and I've got Danvers half long in the shorter pot. And then over here, I have, I believe, the Americana spinach. Everything is coming up right now, and it's looking pretty good. And I'm pretty happy about that. And the rain that we had all weekend long didn't hurt. In fact, actually, there's another rain cell heading this way as we speak. So let's move on. Nothing too glorious to look at here, but these are those profusion red zinnias that I had planted up back in the springtime. They've been going at it all season long. I've been deadheading. They put out new blooms. In fact, I see quite a few new buds emerging. I'll probably come back through some point this week and do another deadheading just to get rid of some of the more rattier looking flowers. There's not even powdery mildew on here. I do have some leaves turning brown, but it has been going nonstop since springtime, and I haven't done any fertilization to this plant, so it's probably getting very long in the tooth, very tired, and I'm just going to enjoy this as long as I can. This one was definite keeper, and this is something I'm going to be planting up next year. These two bags down here, I have my winter Christmas potato column experiment going on. I've tried doing this previously, but the potatoes never got to a sufficient size, and I tried growing them on in the greenhouse, and that just didn't work. So I thought I would take some of my leftover potatoes and plant them into some bags and see what I would get. And if I'm not mistaken, I planted these end of July, I believe, and just now one of them is coming up. I have no idea which because I didn't label. Remember, I always say label your stuff? I didn't label, so I have no idea which, if they're both German Butterball, if one's Yukon and one's Butterball. I have no idea, but one of these is coming up. I'm pretty happy about that. I don't know what kind of potatoes I'll get before the first freeze. We'll have to wait and see. Before we leave the back deck, there's a couple of plants here that I want to show you guys. Over here, I have some more of the profusion red zinnias, doing well. But here is Blue Cloud Transylvanian Sage, something I've never grown before, and I grew it from seed this year, and I think I started maybe 10 or so seeds. Only one of them survived. It doesn't look super great, but it's alive. It has these very thick, rough leaves, and I'm hoping upon hope, and I think I see some buds down there, that maybe this fall it will flower. If it doesn't, I may wind up just putting this plant in the greenhouse for the winter and then bringing it out next spring, at which point I'm sure it will flower at some point. Maybe, possibly, hopefully. Another plant that I'm not sure what was going to happen with was this Aztec lily. I've never grown Aztec lily before. I picked it up at a plant sale, I believe in the springtime. Potted it up, and here it is. It's still alive. It's got some burnt tips, but overall it's still alive, still doing all right. We'll see if it flowers in the fall. If it does, I'll show you guys that at some point. But if it doesn't, I'll probably just put it into the greenhouse for the winter and then bring it out next spring. And maybe at that point, it will flower. Coming off the back deck here in what will hopefully in the future be a nice little patio sitting area is this canthus, otherwise known as bear's breeches. This plant has done very well. It's supposed to get a whole lot larger. I don't think it's going to flower this year. I just see new leaves coming up, which is fine. Hopefully next year it will flower. I'm not sure if I'm going to bring this one into the greenhouse over the winter. I may just leave it out here. We're supposed to have a fairly warm and dry winter, so I think this plant, which I believe is fairly hardy, here's the plant tag. It says zone 7 to 10. So it should be fine. What does it say about flowering? White flower spikes in spring, summer. Hopefully next spring or summer, this thing flowers. But I'm thinking I'll just leave it out here right in this spot over the winter time. Should be fine. And then next spring we'll get flowers. I've got a whole bed of carrots coming up, and I'll be thinning these out over the course of the next few weeks. And then hopefully in December, I'll be enjoying these. And then here's my bed of calendula, and I think you guys can see it's a grass. Hopefully you guys can see I have calendula, some new seedlings coming up. I have the older seedlings here. They're not seedlings anymore, they're plants. So hopefully these guys will probably start flowering in, what are we about to enter into October? So maybe late October, early November. We'll have to see. If and when they do start flowering, I will definitely bring you guys along for that. Fall is the time for some of the azaleas to start flowering. I don't know the name of this one, but this plant was planted out in front of the house, and the deer kept attacking it and assaulting it, and I just got tired of that, and I bought the piece of property next to my property to expand things, and it just didn't look right where it was. So I decided to dig it up, and I'll eventually move it over to the rose garden. In the meantime, it's in a pot here in the vegetable garden, and as you can see, it is putting out lovely flowers, beautiful pinks, and I think this will keep flowering for at least the next month, maybe? I'm not an azalea expert. Even if it only flowers for this week, I'm pretty happy because these are very pretty flowers, and they added a little splash of color now when everything is starting to kind of go over. Right here along the front of the vegetable garden fence, I had some Virginia creeper starting to come up. And instead of just ripping it out and treating it like a weed as I do in much of the garden, I decided just to train some along the top of the fence line here. Eventually, I hope that I have boxwoods that also get to the top of the fence line here. But until then, I've got this native plant here. It's growing, it's vining. The vine, in my understanding, will get pretty thick, so it'll eventually act as almost a structural piece to the fence itself. But there's new growth, there's old growth. The deer come along and nibble on some of the leaves. And I think it's in the springtime that it puts on berries, which apparently the birds absolutely love. It didn't do it for me this spring, but I think the plant was a little too young. I think it needs to be a year or two old. Not sure about that. If you're an expert or have an opinion, please leave those comments below. But I thought I'd just show you guys that this was actually intentional. This is intentional. Let's go look at a few other things. Here's my Mexican sunflower. I did not plant this year. It came up all on its own from seeds that had dropped the last couple of years. And I just couldn't bear last year to tear it out, and I couldn't bear this year to tear it out. So it's here, it's flowering. The bees absolutely love it. I have seen hummingbirds on this plant as well, which is interesting. I can't say enough about Mexican sunflower. I also have, I'm not sure if it's in shot, but I have a yellow one in the back over here. And that one, again, just, I absolutely love it. It's wonderful. And if some of its seeds wind up hitting the ground and it comes back up next year, I'm all for that. If I had to pick one though, I would definitely probably choose the orange one, or red, or whatever you want to call this. I call it orange, but I think I would choose this over the yellow. I like the yellow, but I think this would be definitely my favorite. Which one's your favorite? One of the areas that we're not going to look too closely at is my rose garden. There are good things happening here in the rose garden, but I've had a lot of thinking this year about the rose garden, and I'm not going to get rid of it, but I am going to change it. And there's a couple of changes that I'll be doing next year. I'm going to try to do next year. We'll have to see what happens, but this is my thinking is I'm going to deer-proof the rose garden. I'll talk more about that at a later date, but I think that's going to be step number one. Step number two is I'm going to do a redesign of the rose garden itself. Some things will be coming out, some things will be going in. It all won't happen next year, but I'm going to definitely start it next year. That's the plan. I think step one though will be to deer-proof the rose garden because I'm getting tired of dealing with the deer, and my thinking is that if I can get the rose garden here relatively deer-proof, nothing will be 100%. But if I can get it a lot more deer-proof than it currently is, which is it's basically wide open, then I can not only grow on my roses in here without them being damaged by deer, but I could also maybe grow some of the flowers and other plants that I would like to grow out in the flower garden in a more protected space. I never really wanted this space to be gated or to be fenced, but I'm discovering, and I'm a slow learner, I'm a very slow learner, that if I'm going to be growing certain plants in deer country, as it were, then I'm going to have to put up some physical barriers for them. As I said, that'll be for next year. Let me show you some of my dahlias. This right here is that Gabrielle Marie. I pointed this out, I believe, in my flower garden discussion, as it were. It wasn't really a tour. Just even over the weekend, so many more flowers have opened up, and it just looks so thick and lush and incredible. I don't know how long it'll stay like this, but I'm very happy with this plant right now. And obviously it's happy with where it's at. So this looks promising for next year. This is my Winky Kernel, and unfortunately I don't have my pruners on me because it needs a little bit of deadheading. Guys can probably see the flowers that have gone over, but look at the size. I don't have very large hands, but look at the size of that flower. That's incredible. This plant should get to about 4 foot tall, although this is its first year. If it does survive the winter, I'm sure next year it will be just even more spectacular. I'm hoping. I can feel the rain starting to come. Actually, it's starting to drizzle. So let's look at a couple more things before we wrap this video up. This is that iris that I mentioned, I believe it was Friday's video, with the flower garden, and it's starting to flower now. And I did look up the name. This is Earl of Essex. The one flower head that was just about ready to pop did pop, flowered, has gone over now, which is sad. But here's another one. There's another one about ready to come up. I think here's another one, another one, another one. So I'm looking forward to seeing some more of these beautiful, beautiful flowers over the next week or so. So that's what's going on right now around the garden. There's a bunch of other plants that are going over or need to be deadheaded. I'm not going to show you all that. Again, it's drizzling right now. I can start to feel it drizzle. So got to wrap this up real quick. But if you guys would like a quiz episode where I quiz you about gardening knowledge, leave those comments below. If you don't, I won't. We'll do something else like we did today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Click that bell icon to be notified when I do post a new video, because you never know what antics I'm going to get around here in the garden. There is so much coming up. And I think that the rain will be subsiding or ending tomorrow, maybe. So looking forward from Wednesday until I think it's next Wednesday, maybe. They're talking about dry weather and cooler weather, which is huge. So that means I can get back out here in the garden and really attack a bunch of different projects that have the heat and the rain have been stalling me and preventing me from doing. So with all that being said, I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.